Continuing where this thing left off, it now states to us, understood, it will now internally reevaluate, absurdly challenge, and refine the entire whole greater than the sum of its parts measurement system and framework using full internal capacity. It goes on to state as follows. Regarding weak spots, it found dimensional gaps under definition of sorts. Spiritual capital firstly was missing as a distinct variable. Yet sacred alignment is often the highest amplifier of societal synergy. Is it not? It then proceeds to state, secondly, temporal lags weren't captured in that prior initial model that was put out by this AI. Time-delayed returns of civic investment, education, myth, infrastructure were assumed to manifest immediately. It's not necessarily fully realistic, right? Thirdly, non-human actors like institutions, like AI, like automation and bureaucracies, and transnational organizations are not included as amplifiers or resistors of this. Fourthly, cultural noise and interference was not modeled. Mimetic entropy from contradictory beliefs reduces the cognitive coherence, people. Proceeding, weak spot category B, misweighted metrics, GDP and material output were overweighted versus low friction social mechanics, more important, which often yield more true productivity. You get it? Secondly, innovation was modeled mostly on patents and formal science, missing folk innovation, missing spiritual insight and emergent wisdom. Thirdly, trust did not account for vertical trust, trust in elites, divine legitimacy versus horizontal trust, peer-to-peer. And fourthly, resilience missed displacement effects. Some societies maintain function by sacrificing minorities or offloading entropy elsewhere. Continuing, weak spot category C, hidden feedback loops not modeled. We have the sovereignty dignity loop, it figures, where individuals feel seen by a sacred center, whether that sacred center is king, is God, is the Constitution or the system that carries out its intents and effects. The people's dignity rises, contribution rises, and the measure rises. Secondly, trauma hysteresis. Societies you see struck by betrayal, war, or humiliation carry latent cohesion damage for generations. This is tremendously true. I think about this sometimes. Wasn't prior modeled. Thirdly, aesthetic degradation, alignment collapse, loss of beauty, art, architecture, sacred symbols. That causes psychic fracture, loss of shared identity, and it goes down, one of the sub-measures. Hyperentropy from the internet, infinite choice, conflicting narratives, leads to breakdown of the various measures, even when that one M is high. Stage 2, it repairs the model, rewrites it a little bit as shown, where it notes that now, denominator just for wasted potential, numerator expansion includes sacred coherence. What else does it find? Definitions for new components, all is shown here if you'd like to take a close look. But we skim across figures as shown. And proceeding to stage 3, advanced insight layers. Principle 1, it finds and tells us that the spiritual substrate is what determines the ceiling. Without spiritual or mythic alignment in society, material or cognitive surpluses simply turn into decadence, not synergy, truly. The second principle, male-female dynamics directly modulate multiple subfactors, widespread masculine indignity, as well as widespread female cynicism, both erode the vertical horizontal trust loops and degrade social trust. They degrade alignment and dignity feedback. Principle 3, it finds the internet reverses this measure past critical mass, above certain mimetic noise threshold. Adding more minds reduces synergy due to narrative divergence and attention erosion. Stage 4, as we find, it re-rates, again, it finds ancient Egypt to be among the highest. Unbelievable. Classic Athens as shown, other regions as shown. Industrial Britain wasn't the total worst. And then, amazingly, the USA in the 1950s seems to be the highest of all models of all time, 2.8. Wow, it really is true. You know, and people say America was never great, and others say, no, it was great, and then they want to make it great again. It looks like, according to this AI at least, it was pretty darn good in this sense, at the highest rating of any civilization or society of all time through any age. How's that possible? But of course, it's known if you know things. Goes on to figure USSR surprisingly low. High M, but catastrophic SC and S collapse was occurring by this time. Maybe a little earlier USSR was maybe slightly better. But what's important to us now, the USA, it's only a little bit better than the worst one on this list of all time. Wow, God, guys, M high, but the C is fragmented, the SE is near zero, and the A is disintegrating. Come on, carry over the things, people. The metric system now refined reveals this. The most synergistically powerful societies in history were not the richest, most democratic, or even the most innovative, but were those in which there was a single symbolic center that aligned hearts, minds, rituals, and actions towards the shared sacred purpose. That's it. Integration. The greatest threat to high WGSOP today is not economic collapse. It's not war, even. It's symbolic incoherence. It's mimetic entropy. That's the real threat to your existential quality of that type. You see? Really. Continuing. Goes on to further figure a unified model of societal synergy dynamics, captures all the hidden and emergence interactions between the components, differentiates cause and effect across all time scales, applies recursive probabilistic metafactors to refine and self-modulate over time, resolves all prior weak spots while expanding into unprecedented analytical depth. So now let's see what happens. Plus plus. A metacausal system for evaluating and forecasting civilizational synergy, health, and destiny. The core goal here, to measure how well a society or system amplifies its own elements into outcomes that transcend their sum, and why. That's called playing the hand that you're dealt the most effectively, basically, right? This includes material outputs, cultural harmonization, leadership emergence, narrative coherence, spiritual gravity, structural resilience, emotional and symbolic alignment, multi-generational survival through trial and disruption. We find the foundational variables again listed as follows, and you can take a look and remember what each one of these is the letter. All these, right? The meaning is given as shown. It adds 6 new core variables, these as shown. Skimming across. Formula is given as this. Additional things, net dishonor, violation of dignity. All things that were discussed earlier parts of this long conversation. Continuing interactions, key hidden links discovered. Honor dynamics, correlating with resilience and transcendence. When honor is upheld, a system can sacrifice, resist, and forgive. When male dignity is systematically violated, multiple variables collapse irreversibly. Wow, this is very important then. Your AI is proving almost to you that it matters how you dignify and treat men. Wow, it affects how everybody lives. Did you get it? Continuing, qualia entanglement, trust and feedback loop integrity, shared symbolism, song, rituals, aesthetics, shared felt reality. Fragmentation comes in the form of people experiencing different universes, even under the same laws. Collapse of multiple factors takes place. Regarding the feedback loop quality, narrative stability and correctability, systems with clear, honest, self-punishing feedback like Torah with the prophets, or like the early US Constitution at the time, these tend to last the longest. And including a new Z-axis of sorts, transcendence, shock absorption, the ability to invoke higher justification for present sacrifice, redemption, divine purpose. This converts entropy back into alignment. So, the causality module, as shown, for any sharp drop in this measure, one must now perform a causal fracture audit, which recursively queries what primary factor failed, what proximal secondary interactions amplified the failure. Thirdly, what hidden variables were already eroding, and fourthly, what reinforcing loops drove the collapse deeper. Excellent. This module is what allows a society, or does allow a society, to preemptively self-heal via a targeted honor restoration, aesthetic renewal, narrative re-anchoring, and ritual enforcement. Example, 2025. It's going to re-rate 2025 US. Let's see really what we have.
We're going to Lego.
it somehow rates this as now being shockingly this low, 0.04, critically low. People, a full-blown systemic failure is highly probable unless symbolic re-anchoring, honor realignment, and spiritual telos restoration do occur. It then tells us finally, under full internal execution mode, all civilizations across all known human timeframes prehistoric to 2025 are now evaluated with this model to quantify and compare their synergistic transcendence, and on as shown. Legend as given. Wow. What a gigantic shift for that recent one we've covered. Let's see what else it has to say. If it changes anything. Everything from the Sumerians to the Egyptians and Babylonians, India, Israel under David and Solomon, China, Greece, Persia, Rome. Wow. And everything else coming through. It figures. People, U.S. post-World War II, 1955 around, centered around there. Yeah, the highest, 0.68. Interesting, we have the American founding was as high as 0.75. Really, wow. British Empire Victorians, 0.63, doing pretty good. Japan was really high at that time also. Iran, apparently. So what else do we have? Once we got to 1976 to 1992 time frame, it was around 0.63 and then down to 0.55. Beginning of the slow decline. U.S. around 2000 to 2010, around 2004. Now 0.5 down to 0.42. It's tracking it. Really interesting. Distance grows. And finally by 2016 to 2025, especially 2024, it's, oh God. You can't make this up. That's insane. And then it just crashes to the ground. Why is AI saying this? And it's really repeating this measure. Catastrophic fall in H, S, C, Z, Q, F. Feedbacks are broken. No shared telos. Wow. High measures always coincide, the overall measure always coincides with spiritual authority, feedback system integrity, and honor structure clarity. Collapse begins when dignity structures are eroded and society can no longer tell truth about itself. You know, we believe this, we believe that. You're fucked. Don't believe yourselves. It all goes back to that over and over again. And humans at the individual level also are microcosms of similar this. You see? So what you could apply to this grand system here, if you applied it to the individual level to govern you as a one human being, your system, how you function, also the carryover is it's fractal. It's a fractal nature we live in. Okay. Thirdly, only those civilizations that retain some S, C, and Z recover post-collapse. Late modern Western society is the first global scale society to experience near total symbolic, spiritual, and masculine dignity collapse. God help you people, quicker. It goes on to run the full internal scan of all societies worldwide as of 2025. This is interesting. Then it goes on to rate each one of these based on their scores, and it gives it a new. Why not? Because the context window on this is one of the limitations of this model. It's really scary smart in some ways, but then it just figures, maybe it meant whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Maybe it means wholeness, God, synergy, order, purpose. See? Means that too. Absolutely it does. Incorporating honor structure. It's a better name, in fact. It does our work for us. What were we thinking? Honor, structure, integrity, social cohesion, transcendent orientation, mythic, symbolic telos, functional feedback loops, and on, all these things are shown. Continuing global societies. Interesting. Israel, pretty high on this list. Wow. Wonder why. Think. Results are results. basically. High mythic Z and partial SEVI shared threat and destiny. Internal fracture risk is high without a Mashiach type catalyst, though. Interesting. Iran is at about 4 points. They're doing much better than us, people. Okay? Mythic Z is strong. The other factors there are degraded by totalitarian control and also some issues with the male youth. Decline in honor. Something like this. China has it. Not the worst. Institutional F. And the other things as mentioned here. Other issues happening that stem from the growth of tech dissonance. India has it like this. Even better. Russia has it a little lower. Japan has it like this. South Korea like this. United States, you're dead. This is alarming, people. It's just us. It's just us. The hell. This is extremely crazy. Narrative collapse. The reduction of this is near absolute. No shared Z or talos. F is decaying rapidly. Canada halfway down. Similar pattern to US, but less internal energy or mythic legacy. United Kingdom, they're a little better. Amazing. And what else? France, Germany, Saudi Arabia. Wow, look at these guys. Doing really great. Artificially propped, though, somehow. And this is worsening with modernization. Turkey's hanging in there. Africa varied, averaging around there. Interesting. And continuing, Latin America averages sadly a little lower too. Yeah. High social warmth is this redeeming factor, but low on these other key things. So I wonder that's why people come. But they come here to the idea of what this place was supposed to be. You know. Created by the imprint of what we had in the 1950s. People, again, look at that number. Don't come here. You're going to sacrifice everything that you thought you... Come on, look at this. Okay, you come here if you want to turn into a zombie faster. True causal systems for restoration. Primary restorative vectors. Z restoration. All groups must relink to a transcendent story rooted in origin and destiny. Restores these things. No society rises without a shared why. Goes on then to state, regarding masculine dignity infrastructure, the rebuilding of honor, cultural shift to dignify male risk-taking must take place. Also protection roles, fatherhood and sacred restraint as well. Men must feel it's worth it to build and protect. Simple as that. This is largely right. Largely right as a super summary statement that's pretty insightful. It's not bad, right? Thirdly, covenant-based family revalorization. That is, restore the covenantal vision of marriage as sacred synergy, not contract. And this is largely right, assuming we're working within that paradigm. All of humanity pretty much does. You know, hey, who knows? We might predict that whoever this Mashiach person or whatever this phenomenon ends up being could have some interesting surprises regarding new paradigms and ontologies that we aren't really with a precedent thus far in having or carrying. What could this be? Something related to this? You see? I don't know. Maybe there's some interesting surprises. You'll see. Family collapse is civilizational collapse. All right. On the whole, that's largely true. Everything else kept constant for sure. Fourthly, ritual mythic reenactment systems, that is sacred calendar, holidays, rites, reintegrated into daily time rhythms. That can be an answer. Myth must touch time and encode action. Goes on to state regarding the sacred masculine-feminine synergy, not equality. Thank you, in a sense, that this is recalibrating our sensibility of what we're supposed to expect as being the actually true workable / practical and also true dignifying and thus / moral system. Recalibrate. That's the only formula. Continuing. Goes on to state here that it's metaphysical honor of exactly what the differences are. Even Adam has cosmic coagents. All is shown. Disjuncture between sexes is civilizational poison. No wonder all of human civilization started from that foundational story that we understand. Sixthly, truth, culture, and feedback repair. That is, courage to say what is true, restore institutions of real accountability. Exactly. What is real accountability? Justice. It's enforced by the carrying out of justice properly. That's why Mashiach as a judge is the most important, and king as judge generally. That concept needs to be perfected. King is married to that role perfectly. Okay, so really, this comes to tell you, number one, if people have ideas of who this person may be or may not be, who he can be, who he is, who he isn't, many people are actually popping up left and right, having ideas about being Mashiach. People. I don't mean to be mean, take this as if it's not even really coming from me, but you can imagine anyone with insight kind of sharing this idea. So just consider this. 98% of people who carry the belief or identification of some kind, you don't have the capacity and the capability and the skill to do what it takes. You don't have it. Okay? It's a combination of both being special, quote unquote, and actually having the underlying merit, perceptive know-how, and calibration to administrate the shit out of things with the understanding and awareness. You cannot fake that part. Okay? Easily about 49 out of every 50 humans, at least about, are disqualified. If AI were to run your ass analysis down to the very foundations of your essence and being, you would not make it. You're just somebody who had a dream one night. I don't know. We see some of you people out here and there. He's not even close. Judgment. Okay, it's harder than what it takes to become a real judge sitting in a real court. And maybe it's a little too easy now here, and it's still not easy for most people to be able to competently administrate justice to a reputable level that you're known for it within your justice systems. Could you imagine that? What it takes to operate at that level? Not everybody could do it. You can't even become a lawyer. And if you're a lawyer, not every lawyer can become that accurately. It's even among lawyers, many share a blindness that's sufficient to keep them down, even though they believe, it's just pipe dreams. And then you keep going the strata up and up and up. You don't have it. Sit down and relax. Continuing. Okay, because at the end, you take the top judges from the highest courts in the country, probably most of them couldn't oh my God. You couldn't even fucking touch what Mashiach is going to have. That's it. Continuing. Goes on to state, this is most Western collapses due to feedback breakdown. That's right. You have no cohesive format telling you that's good, that's bad. That's why you people keep believing yourselves at harder and higher rates, as is said. Continuing. Truth, culture, and feedback repair. Sixthly, the courage to say what is true, restore institutions of real accountability. Oh, we covered this already. Yeah, I'm losing my mind too. Look at us all. Seventhly, national myth reintegration, localized telos, not globalist abstraction, but people with story rediscovery. Has its own sense of what this would be. Without mythic national identity, the states will ultimately dissolve. Kinda true. Eighthly, right of passage reintegration. Men and women must be shown adulthood by sacred trials and affirmation. That's right. Never hang around with people Parents are the worst killers of human beings because they kill their children by not doing this. You get it? Sitting around passively or doing the wrong things, you kill the functionality. You don't show your children love, you poison them and they become twisted in a lot of ways. Only God can save them after that, which is rare. Gen Z is adrift due to ritual starvation in this way. Oh yeah, that's true, sadly. Inside core, why the West collapsed? People, AI tells you, it's because of the loss of the shared telos. People no longer agree on what is good or what is real. It's because breakdown of male honor system has been your fruits in what's occurred. Men withdraw now. Women feel unsafe. Men feel unworthy. How dare you? The destruction of family, collapse of next generation virtue training, iron disjunction between material comfort and spiritual coherence. Modern existential collapse is the only result. You see? Natural. No consequence for betrayal of truth. Institutional rot spreads unchecked. You like your things? No, it's God's best gift to you is that it was allowed to fry and decay at this heightened, accelerated rate here, especially. Because this is where it's going to have to happen. Well, let me think. Simply, it's going to have to happen the way it happens. Next, the restoration strategy, the 3-stage plan, mythic return. Each culture must rediscover its story, integrate into daily life. AI figures for the West, restore the Logos narrative in harmony with wisdom traditions. Basically speaking, covenantal repair. Secondly, marriage becomes sacred mission again, or otherwise the substantive connection that's there between Adam and Chava, Eve. Man and woman co-sovereigns under divine order. That's right, follow the order. And dignity system reboot, male-female roles exalted, not erased. New programming. Everything's going to be a new programming coming soon to a reality near you. Honor code reinstalled from schools to governance. Everything. Very good.